Hi, the lesson plan I'm going to present today is titled Exploring Ecosystems. This is set up for a fourth grade classroom. It can take 2 to 3 class periods, give or take, depending on, of course, how you want to introduce the lesson and how your students do with the lesson. With that said, our learning objectives that we're going to look for will consist of students being able to define an ecosystem and identify its components. These components will consist of biotic and abiotic. Understand how organisms are connected in a food web, create a model of a self-sustaining ecosystem, and observe interactions between living and non-living components. The standards that we will have alignment with the NGSS to incorporate into this lesson is 4LS1-1. Construct an argument that plants and animals have internal and external structures that function to support survival. 4LS1-2, use a model to describe animals receive different types of information through their senses. During the introduction of ecosystems, we're going to first, of course, introduce the concept. These are some visuals that can be hung up in the classroom. They can also be passed out as handouts. As many visuals as you can add to this lesson plan is great. And I actually really like these. It starts with, what is an ecosystem? And this is a great way to break down to the lesson, scaffolding it, introducing the food chains, the ecosystem cycles, the energy pyramids. This also consists of the ecosystems, the classified ecosystems, food webs, and how the same organisms can occupy different trophic levels in a food web. It goes over trophic levels, primary consumers, producers, and all these different things, secondary consumers, and this is a great way to give them like the full picture during our lessons. We can also introduce videos, clips, of course, handouts, like I said, and other visuals and engagement ways to get students to understand the basis. It also goes over ecosystem services, impact of climate change, and the major types of ecosystems. The other thing that we will do is create a class diagram with the students' responses and introduce the key vocab. The key vocab we will start with is ecosystem, biotic, abiotic, food chain, and food web. Of course, as we go, the students will have their own individual journals, and there will be a section of this vocab. This will be their starter list. As we go through the lesson, students will be encouraged to note down any words that they come across or any concepts that they are just not quite 100% sure on, and we can help them dive deeper to understand the meaning, and that way students don't get lost in translation during this lesson, and they can build that solid foundation of understanding of ecosystems. This is also great for classrooms with bilingual students, and providing the link of translation so that way they can connect the two meanings. That also helps avoid students from getting that gap in their learning as well. We will also go into the explanations, defining ecosystem, food chain, everything we just went over here, and emphasizing the connectiveness in the idea that when one part of the ecosystem changes, it affects everything. The second step in this lesson will consist of building the ecosystem in a jar. Now, as for materials go, This will highly depend on your funding and what you as a teacher want to put in for this lesson. Primarily, we can gather anything. It doesn't even have to cost a lot. The main things that we'll need is a mason jar, pebbles, dirt, and I will also link a list of the materials that can be used. They can also be optional, and I will also create a link of some options on Amazon. This Terrarium comes and you can set it up. This is something I would do for this lesson, is create one in class, a large one. This came with everything, and that gives us the opportunity to model and build with the students first before separating and having the independent work. It's also a great way for class engagement, and it gets students excited to learn, I feel. So with this one, I did get the flower or the succulent separate. Everything else came with it, and then the jar was also separate. So it came with the dirt, it came with the mesh, and this is something we'll break down explanation with the students. A cost-friendly version for the second part, which I'm about to go into, is possibly a mason jar. Now, we could do that, or depending on what is available, we can get these little kits. These are pretty cool kits that you can order, and it comes with everything. This has seeds in it, so it will grow some plants. And the students are able to take whichever option you guys decide to go with home. Now, when they take it home, what the students will be encouraged to do is experiment. Put it outside, keep it inside a dark place, add bugs to it, just kind of journal, and we're going to have them journal what they are doing. So every day they're going to observe it, and they're going to write down what they observe. They will also note and label if they made a biotic or abiotic one for their house. This is where students will cross into the observation and reflection section of this lesson plan. They will observe. Students will observe their jars. They will note any changes in their journal. That will consist of condensation, plant movement, anything with any of the bugs they add. If they're watering it, how often, if it's in sunlight, if they decided they were going to water it with something other than water, they're going to note that there. Anything that they decide to creatively experiment on their own with this ecosystem, they're going to put in their journal. Now, the discussion prompt will be, what do you predict will happen over time? How do plants and bugs survive? That will be part of the discussion as well. The journal will also provide the exit ticket. This will give us a great evaluation and assessment on their takeaway from this lesson, what their understanding is, and that will go back to the objectives. The prompt will be, what did you learn about how living and non-living things interact in an ecosystem? Students will also present their jar. They will bring them back to class, and they will present it to the class, and they will talk about their jar, and they will explain what they did and how it worked, and just really get into all the details. The students will also have an area where they can graph a picture of what the changes with the plants looked like for each step as well. Down below, I will link all the information with the materials needed. I will also link any of the videos and clips that can be utilized in this lesson. And I will also break down each day again. Again, this is just a structured lesson plan. This will depend greatly on your classroom as well, the level of your learners, and how quickly they are able to understand the concept. Also, it also depends on how long you want to have them observe these. If you want to have them observe it for a week or so on, it really just depends. So with this lesson plan is great because it gives the students a structured concept of an understanding of the ecosystem. It gives them the hands-on. It gives them the critical thinking with the data and organizing their thoughts and what they observe, and presenting it, as well as the discussions and everything else. So overall, this is a great lesson, and it also gives a lot of creativity, room for creativity, and ways to create, or mediate any type of learning gaps. And it also will give students an ability to modify as needed as we go along.